As you guys may know, I sound design sounds for you guys. And in this video, I'm going to show you how you could take a simple sine wave and a simple blip and make it into something brand new. So instead of thinking of mixing as a technical thing, understand that mixing is essentially sound design when you get into the creative side of mixing. So mixing is not just a technical thing. Let's take 3x OSC, for example. Actually, let's use pigments because it has built in. Actually, let's just use this. I'll just show you guys. It doesn't matter the tool. We're going to create an envelope. Volume envelope. We're going to pull back the attack, and that's my piano you guys hear. And we're going to basically give this a very short decay curvature. So it becomes a blip, and we're just going to add this in as a note for now. We're going to give it a melody, but for now we're just going to add it in as a note. Now we need something that basically takes this sine wave and runs it through a granular reverb. So we're going to use the FX by Omnisphere. I was going to build this in Pigments. Pigments has their own reverb called Shimmer reverb. So we're looking for a Shimmer reverb. There's also a tool by Valhalla called Valhalla Shimmer. So let me pull that up. Valhalla Shimmer. Here it is. All right. So these are just different options for the same thing. So I don't know why this says the wrong name. Valhalla Shimmer. So in this plugin, what it's going to do is something that a typical reverb cannot do. So let's add the feedback. And basically we're pitch shifting the reverb tail and granulizing the sound so that it has this glittery sound. So instead of just going bloop, it goes into this long tail thing. So I tried to sound design Valhalla Shimmer using FL stuff. It was just very complicated and it did not sound the same. So that's a plugin that's very unique. Next, let's try the Omnisphere new FX plugin. This one, let's go to reverb. Let's go to Solar Shimmer Reverb. This one's a little bit different. You guys can hear the delay echoes here. Let's turn the pitch up an octave, 12 semitones. And then we'll pull the mix level in and then give it a longer decay curvature. And we can mess with the shimmer and detune this a little bit more. And we can also adjust the amount of trails here, which I think that's just the resonance of it. So this one's a little more pointy sounding, whereas Valhalla is a little more smeary. Okay, so we're going to combine those two into one. Now let's give this a melody. Let's try a new voicing here. Let's use our new voicing we learned recently. Let's go to a new pattern here. Let's add that in. So my brain can't work that fast. This tempo is very fast. Let's quantize those notes and change one of these notes. So this is just the Shimmer reverb. That's just one of many plugins. Okay, so it just shows how mixing is not always a technical thing. All right, now let's take this sound and just work with this in the mixer just to show you guys how far we can take this. Let's add some waves compressors in here. I like R-Comp, it's one of my favorite tools. Let's start with the expander first. Pull that transient up. There we have that. So from this point, we're just thinking of things we could do. There's no right or wrong way to go about this. Eventide has an H3000. I haven't pulled this plugin in a minute. Here it is, H3000. Let's try this plugin. We're just gonna go through presets here because it's too much to adjust. And we can blend the mix level. So now we're adding different tones. Now, I usually have to pause the DAW at this point and add the next plugin here called Pan Man. This is, I learned about this from the producer Dante from the group They. It's one of my favorite tools for rhythms. Let's soften the, let's make it as more of a sine wave instead of a pulse adjustment. And let's also make it less wide. So this adds very subtle movement to the track without overdoing it. And then from here, I mean, there's pretty much done in terms of tone. Here's where I like to mess with the dimension of the sound. So we can mess with Fruity Delay 3 or trying to think, what would I even do to the sound? Really from here, it's just technical stuff. So I would probably compress it again. This time more of a downward compression, not upwards. Just to keep the sounds more still. And get the volume up. Now, I don't want to take out too much headroom for the melody here, but I do like the sound of L2 from Waves. It just sounds really good. So here's before the processing, just to show you guys how far we've come. Now let's add the effect. And from here, again, you guys can mess with even more stuff like gross speed, for example. We can go to presets, go to momentary, go to half speed. And what most people don't know is you can actually automate the mix level here for the time value. So basically we can bring in the effect over time. Now we're just making it wider with the SSL imager. Now if you guys want to get fancy with this, we could even run it through. Let's see if they even have stuff. But here is where we. Oh, my bad, yo. I had to get a different mic because the other one delays it. Once you add this plugin, it adds a 1200 millisecond delay. So we're going to go into this service called Access Analog. Basically, this is where you can add, you can insert analog gear from a real studio using robots to turn the hands, and they have this plugin interface. So I'm on the highest tier right now, so it gives me access to all their stuff. So what I might do is add some of the analog vibe, like a compressor. Usually I mess with the compressors here. Now let's mess with, here's what I'll do for this. Let's get off the, I'm gonna take off some of the plugins here because we don't want to overkill. So because I'm gonna use their compressor, I'm gonna take off the compressor I had, and let's add the SSL fusion to widen it out using the real analog gear. Plugin's a little bit different. It does sound close though, the plugin. I've matched them before. Let's add a little saturation just to brighten up the tone, and then we need it back loud again. Now somebody's using the limiter I would normally use, so we can't use that one. So let's go with, I guess technically we don't need, let's just use that. Sometimes I like the harmonic distortion in the West Audio stuff. It's very hit or miss though. It's not needed for everything. Let's see if we can get a limiter going with this. Now we're just pushing levels into the compressor. See how now it's bringing the sound alive? It's probably a little too loud on some of the reverbs. We can compress the sound more. I might take out Pan Man because Pan Man is making the So here's without the analog gear. Has a decent sound, but hopefully my chain is still there. Hold up. Let's pull back some of the brightness. I feel like these aren't matched here. That's why it sounds lopsided. So we'll have to match these settings here. Now we're really pushing the levels pretty aggressively. Let's pull back the threshold a little bit. But like I said, guys, we came to this conclusion from a sine wave blip. So here's before, just to remind you guys how deep sound design goes. Okay, now we have a huge sound. Now they also offer reverbs in here, but this is more of a spatial reverb than a creative reverb. So let's add the precocity just as a spatial element. Now this one's kind of weird to dial in because it silences the sound. So now we have this living composition from a simple sine wave. Let's try messing with different octaves here. You know what I would normally do is just record this and then print it. So I like to record in real time. I'm going to pause the video to do this, but I'll show you guys how I would do it. I usually add Edison at the bottom here and just switch this to on play. I hit record, go back to the beginning, hit play, let it record. I'll pause the video so you guys don't have to watch me record this. But that's how I basically record the analog gear. Okay, now we have the files and audio clip. We don't need the plugin anymore, so we can get rid of this. There's a different way to bounce that, but we don't need to worry about that. So we could literally just reprocess the sound through the same exact effects to see what kind of weird result we get. Sounds a little chaotic, I think because of the gross beat. Okay, so that's just too much processing. So let's turn the effects off. Now, a couple more things I would normally do is double click on the sample, go to mode, stretch mode, switch it back to resample. Basically, we're just giving it a time value, and then we could change the tempo down or up to kind of find a niche groove for it. I feel like this sounds really dope. Now we can also speed it up. So let's put it at like 180. So I'm going to just show you guys a further step. This is not mandatory. Let's consolidate this. What we're doing is basically stamping the tempo values onto this new audio so that it time stretches properly. So let's print this. from Consolidate Track. And now what we're going to do is double click inside the new audio, right click and open this in Fruity Slicer. This is a Wonder Girl technique. We're going to slice here, go to beat, and then pull up the attack time. So it's at 172 BPM. I guess I didn't realize you could change that before. So I guess even if it's at the wrong BPM, you could probably switch that. I never noticed that before. Let's go to pattern 4, or whatever pattern it clones to, and go to your Fruity Slicer, click dump beat to piano roll, normal. Okay, and it will basically map out each slice to a MIDI note. So we could drag this in. And now it should sound more choppy, like more stuttery. So this is how you add that like Drake effect, basically. And regalia type effect. And then we can mess with the time stretch from here. So it's like a built-in, it's almost like an effect, a sidechain effect. And again, we can pitch shift this down if we wanted to. So we could do 1,000 things from here. I'll show you guys even how to take this even further. Is that a plugin called Transporter? And this is like the final glittery effect. We can go to tempo mode and switch the timing here and then mess with the reverse. This might be too much movement. You never know until you do it type of thing. And then we need to, I like to mess with the spread values. All right, it's a little too fast. Let's slow the speed down. So it adds a glitter. Sometimes it works. For more, I've noticed for more like truncated melodies, it might work a little bit better because it doesn't get in the way. You have to turn the sensitivity up for it to trigger sometimes. And also you could turn off the dry signal and just use this. That is a little random. So we can take off the reverse. So this would be your your textures or your accents if you're into sound designing those. Let's get weird and let's add a fruity delay 3. Let's add some pitch modulation here. So now we're just in weird land here. Like it's a little random in some places. Let's see if we can combine this. So again, we're getting into the weeds of the weeds of the weeds, but that's how you can push it further and further and further. So to learn sound design, go to busyworksbeats.com/premium guys. Peace.